Hey guys, it's me again. This is our 15th time hanging out. Recently, I've gotten back into eating Chinese sausage or lap chong. For those who don't know, it's a cured meat made from diced pork mixed with seasonings, stuffed into animal casings, and then fermented and air dried. The flavor is pretty intense. It's quite salty, a little bit sweet, and definitely on the fatty side. A lot of people actually aren't huge fans of it, but I really enjoy it. To be honest, I hadn't cared for Chinese sausage for almost 20 years, but I suddenly fallen back in love with it. It makes me wonder if our tastes just go in cycles, always coming full circle. Speaking of Chinese sausage, I absolutely loved it when I was a little kid. My family was pretty broke back then, so we rarely had meat and mostly lived on veggies. Every once in a while, my family would buy a little bit of sausage and steam a few links to go with our rice. Because I went practically every day without meat, having it occasionally made that savory, meaty flavor seem like the ultimate comfort food, and it went perfectly with rice. Whenever we had steamed sausage, I'd devour massive bowls of rice. My family picked up on this and thought I was just obsessed with it. So, whenever they made it, they'd hold off on eating any and save it all for me, waiting until I was totally full before they'd take a bite. As I grew up and our family's financial situation improved, we had access to way more good food, and I kind of lost my craving for it. But my family's memory was stuck in the past, thinking I was still crazy about it. For a while, they'd still go out of their way to buy it for me, until they finally realized I had genuinely grown out of it, and then they stopped. Talking about foods I liked, there was a phase in my childhood where I was pretty into bitter melon stir fried with eggs. I'm not sure if they sell bitter melon where you guys live. A lot of people probably aren't fans because, well, it's bitter. But the reason I liked it is actually pretty quirky. Before I was in high school, my mom genuinely didn't know how to cook. I don't know why, but no matter how hard she tried, everything she made tasted awful. So, my dad was usually the one doing the cooking. Fast forward a bit, my mom spent a few years picking her friends' brains and looking up recipes online. And now, her cooking is actually really good. But that's a story for another time. Getting back on track. Even though my mom used to be a terrible cook, there was exactly one dish she made that I thought was decent, or at least edible, and that was bitter melon with eggs. Even though bitter melon is naturally bitter, if you prep it right, scraping out the white pith, salting it to draw out the moisture, and then blanching it before dunking it in an ice bath, it stays crisp and loses a lot of that bitterness. When you pan fry that prepped bitter melon with eggs, it actually tastes surprisingly good. I think you might have guessed it by now. The main reason I liked bitter melon with eggs wasn't just because it tasted fine, but because out of everything my mom cooked, it was literally the only edible thing. Sure, my dad knew how to cook, but occasionally he'd have to go out of town for work, leaving us with no one to handle the meals. At times like those, we had no choice but to eat my mom's cooking. Not wanting to crush her confidence, whenever those days rolled around and she'd ask what I wanted her to make, I'd always say, I want bitter melon with eggs. She would just smile and say she couldn't believe how much I loved that dish. To be completely honest, if I had a choice, I would have much rather had one of my dad's epic seafood feasts. I feel like sometimes our preferences are just limited by our circumstances. If I had a wider range of options to choose from, maybe the things I think I love right now wouldn't seem so appealing after all. That's all for today's little story. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening. I'm Ping, a new YouTuber, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.